require, what blue and or green, green and or blue, and they just have to have the time to fetch out the island, fetch out the forest. And some people don't even play the forest. So Blood Moon and Relic, those are going to be huge.
So I wonder if Dalton knows what he's against and knows what sort of hands he has to keep. But then looking
Oh
at
my
Daniel's
God.
hand, Daniel has got the Force Negations. He's got the Subtleties.
And Dalton has a hand that's bad, has Relic. I mean, it's an excellent hand against a fair deck. So if Dalton doesn't know the opponent, this is a snap keep. You've got Relic, you've got Removal, you've got 3 drops. Looks awesome. But if you know it's Living End, you've got Relic that can be taken with Grief or Fond, and then nothing else really.
Where do we sit on the game plan of maybe we just cast our Furies into nothing, just so we've got basically Furies in our graveyard in case something like a Living End does happen to resolve. Double Force Negation in our opener so far for Daniel might also have a real good dealing with that Relic coming down.
Well, you will keep this bottom the Living End, keep the Fawn to pitch to Fawn, and then just keep cycling. That's the strategy. And to be fair, this hand could be busted, right? Because if Dalton now plays Relic, it gets Fawn like as fast as you could. Yep.
So get that off the bat. Don't want to see that one.
Daniel, I can see, chuckling a bit, seeing, Mountain into Relic game 1.
And I kind of like this about the Living End decks, how you can just keep a 1-lander because basically every card has got cycling. So eventually you're going to keep cycling for your deck. You're either going to run out of cyclers or you're going to hit all your land drops. And I'm a big fan of keeping very greedy 1-land type hands in multiple formats, depending on multiple decks. As we're going to see end of turn, we're going to cycle, get that out of here, and there you go. Land on cue, cycle and turn with Street Wraith, lose 2 life.
Some people may not realize, but the cycling sequence actually does matter. For example, here you want to cycle the blue card first, keeping the black ones in case you draw Grief, right? So for example, now you might cycle into Grief. So this is exactly what's happening, right? So we've got black card with Living End, so you can cycle Street Wraith because you've got the black card to cycle again into Grief. So the order you cycle in is not irrelevant. It's not like a willy-nilly, just go through your deck.
And I think we've kind of run out of gas at this point. We are looking for our 3rd land drop over on Daniel's side. Dalton's just going to pass the turn back after playing a land, holding up his things. Got Flame Slash, Lightning Bolt.
Okay, this is good game. I mean, I know I've called it today multiple times and I've been wrong. But if Dalton comes back from this, he has to get the Gaia's Cradle. There's no other way.
I'm inclined to agree with you, but we've seen crazy things happen just on this short stream that we've been doing. So we are going to cast Living End here. We are going to get back, believe it's going to be 10 power worth of cards. But we do have Flame Slash, which we can deal with one of them. We've got Lightning Bolt that can deal with another one. We know there's 1 Living End in hand, which means there's only 1 Living End left in the deck, potentially, if Daniel's running the traditional 3. So Dalton's not out of it. I'm not counting him out yet, especially if he's driving something like a Blood Moon and has a Fury it's not looking great, especially as the opponent's going to look at my top 3 cards and stack them in any order they want to. I also like that little interaction there. Daniel actually tapped it to kind of announce that that's the trigger that he's going to, so he doesn't forget it. Pits him back in the order he likes, passes it back across, goes on top of Dalton's deck, and quick count. I mean, so that is.
I don't see it.
It is definitely a 2-turn clock. We drew a Relic for a turn.
Relic.
That was good.
That is such a BM from Daniel. Daniel just says, "Yep, put Relic on top. Your draw." I mean, that's just the disrespect is wild here.
That is quite funny. I do love to see it. Daniel also put that on top just to really rub it in.
But he looks unfazed, right? He's he did that biggest BM you could see, and he's just nothing happened.
And this is what I spoke about. He had a couple of answers in here. He's now managed to turn that 2-turn clock into a 4-turn clock. And lucky for him, Daniel does have another way to Living End if he needs to. Grief ditching Living End. Let's see what's in that hand. And it's going to find a Seasoned Pyromancer, unfortunately for him. So if he does decide to cast Living End again, which he's not inclined to right now, but he probably won't get another chance to because of
No.
relics on the battlefield.
To be fair, this relic might have been a bit too cheeky. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, unless the other two cards are really good, like maybe Blood Moon and another relic or something, or double Blood Moon. So maybe it wasn't cheeky after all. Maybe he actually has got like a very stacked top three.
we'll be able to see, because obviously on the Living End count, this will be the third one cast or used in some description in this game. We're going to look through quite a lot of the deck, I imagine, because it's only going to be one place.
Yeah, so there is a basic forest. That's important. There is a basic forest. And those Living End decks, sometimes they play 3, sometimes they play 4 Living Ends. It does depend. And it depends on the meta game usually, because they play 4 copies when there are a lot of like Murktide decks. So you can just aggressively Living End in the face of counter magic to get it countered and then go again. So depends what the Daniels read on the metagame was.
Okay, question. Whose triggers go on the stack first and resolve first?
Good question. Oh, you've asked so many good questions today. So another advanced one. So basically, the triggers go on the stack. Like if you're the active player, so yeah, if you're the active player, your triggers go on the stack first, and then the opponents. But because the stack resolves top to bottom, it means that actually the opponents resolve first when it's your turn, which really does matter when you have Living End. You've got Violent Outburst, and so you decide if you want to Living End on your turn or their turn, depending on how the triggers stack.
That is good knowledge for everybody watching, because obviously that's something that can get confused. It can confuse me once in a while when I used to do it. And I'd still call a judge now just to make sure that I know how that interaction happens. We're having a quick look in here from Alex versus Alan. Obviously, your favorite deck, Breach, going up against Rhinos here. That is it looks like Rhinos being cast. We've got an answer to one of them on the battlefield by the looks of it. Both players, both players got 9 wins, but one's got 2 draws and the other has 2 losses.
And it does make a huge difference, right? Because it means that Alex can't really lose while Alan can, right? Because that's the 2 points of difference.
So here we go with all the triggers. So it shows Daniel's choosing to look at his own deck to stack the top 3. I'm not entirely sure what was drawn. I think he had that land in hand, but maybe there's one in the graveyard, so maybe that's what he ditched. And then, so he would have drawn 2 cards. One of them was a Bone Crusher. That's what got took by the Grief. Got you. Right, now we're caught up. So we're looking at Season Pyro now. It can chump if it needs to. I believe Dalton is down to 14, took an attack for 6 last turn. We're going to play another Bone Crusher, probably on defense here. And we're going to pass the turn back. Daniel did look at his top 3 cards, put them back in any order you wanted to. Has the 4/4 flyer, has the Creature of Grief, and has just a generic couple of 2/2s and a 3/3. He's working out, does he want to get across with everything here? 3/3, everything that can trade with that Bone Crusher, I think, is coming across and leaving back the 2/2/2s. I like this. Unless he maybe drew something like a Violent Outburst. Maybe that could change the math. But it looks like we're getting to blocks. And also on Dalton's side here, I think I would want to crack this relic for a card. I know there's 3 have happened, but I don't want to be cracking it after my Pyromancer goes to the graveyard, if that's how damage is chosen in this blocker stack.
Yeah, that is true. Like if you're playing for those like minuscule percentage points, then yeah, fair enough. Although I'm not sure. I mean, I would really take a look at those big percentage points, which is the one player having like 20 power on the field, rather than the such timing. Oh my god, petty theft.
Petty theft, bouncing the Boa. Blocks happen. They trade. So it's the Pyro in the Daniel could have chose then to either have the Pyro goes to the graveyard or the Bone Crusher. Decided he doesn't want to give Daniel more draws by potentially replaying that Pyro. Another relic is drawn for the turn, along with a Fabled Passage in hand. Drops down. I believe they took another 7 points there, dropping him down to 7. And yeah, I think it's just too much on the other side for them to be able to deal with. As Dalton's going to drop that down, and Daniel's going to be 1-up in this match. So, sideboarding wise, let's start over on Dalton's side. We've kind of seen his sideboard quite a lot. We've seen him in the feature match area because he is still undefeated in this tournament. Out of those cards there that he's bringing to the front, any of these take your fancy?
Yeah, so you're siding in Magus's, certainly, like the Blood Moon effects, as I've said, are actually pretty good. I would consider very strongly Pillage, especially on the play, because when you're on the play, you've made your third land drop before they have, so you can actually stone rain them off of a land. Chalice is great, Stone Brain is great. So to be fair, between Stone Brain, Chalice, Relic, Pillage, Blood Moon, and Magus, I really like Dalton's position, even though it's a mono-red deck.
So just because he's bringing those brainstorms, he's going to have to not reveal that Obosh that we can see there on the screen, because they do cost 2. They do have an even casting cost, so he will not be able to reveal that at the start of the game. And what cards don't we like? What's not goodness? What is he going to be bringing out?
Well, all the removal is pretty average. Like all the flame slashes are bad. Stomp is pretty bad because it doesn't accomplish much. So cards like Fable are okay-ish because you can ditch your own creatures into the graveyard to get them returned there, later. So I think I would focus on cutting this kind of needless removal. Yeah, basically that. Needless removal. That's it.
We're seeing Dalton do kind of like a hedge-up play here. He's taking out his Blood Moons. Because over on Daniel's side, I've been on, I've played a lot of Living Enema time. You're basically forced to always bring in some sort of answer to either an enchantment or artifact. You don't know if you're playing around ley lines, relics, endurances. There's so many options in Modern right now from so many different color combinations. You kind of basically always have to bring something in to deal with them. So he's hedging that. Okay, he's going to bring in maybe the green force that can destroy my enchantment. So I'm going to start bringing in the Magus the Moons, which alternatively he would need a subtlety for, but really he might not keep them in. So I kind of like that play by Dalton. Over on Daniel's side, Living End, anything besides more what I spoke about? Do you think he'd end up bringing in anything that can help him swing this matchup?
Not really. Like it's so certainly there are no cards that are dedicated to this matchup, of course, because nobody dedicates slots to Obosh Red.
They
but
might after this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. I think you just need to play as if you were playing against a generic mid-range deck which has hate pieces. And so you certainly want Forces of Vigor because of those random relics, chalices, blood moons. Like Force of Vigor is a snap side in. And other than that, you're just hoping that you do your thing.
Exactly. So chat kind of all over it, but I'm going to repeat for people, anyone just jumping in, make sure you type the words drip in the stream, because after this round, we will be giving away 2 Frection, all will be 1 collector's boosters courtesy of drip. So make sure you type drip in the chat for a chance to win that. That giveaway is happening after this round. And then also type ! drip and check the details out for how to win a Gaia's Cradle, which will be happening in this stream, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to do my damnedest to try and be part of that as well. As we do see Daniel, I think he took a mulligan there. He's shuffling up and is going to go down to 6 cards. Dalton on the plate. How big is this? He got Ragavan. I was about to say Ragavan, I feel, is quite big, but then so is 2 Stone Brains in the opening hand for Dalton. Could this game be over before it even starts, or we've got a Grief?
Yeah, so Grief is one of the ways you can catch your opponent like off guard. You can also play like something like Petty Theft maybe. So you can Petty Theft Brainstone, but you can only do that on the play. You couldn't do it on the draw. So yeah, I really like Dalton's position right now. Now, again, we're cycling main phase because he might hit a second Grief. Or you could draw like a Dead Living End to pitch it.
Mm-hmm.
So in those, oh my God.
Okay. What's the pick?
So yes, the question is what that third card down is. And I'm not sure there is a human that knows the answer. No way.
Chat's gonna get it. Chat, what's that third? That black on black card. Come on, chat. Someone's gonna get it.
This is literally like a foggy blob that's black and red, black and white.
Lantern of the Lost, chat are saying.
Oh my god.
I wonder if we can get that up on stream. Let's test a new. Can we get Lantern of the Lost up on stream?
I think the chat might be bluffing.
Jeez, we're all over it. Look at this. Look, Lantern Lost. When enters the battlefield, exile type card from a graveyard, exile Lantern, exile all cards, all graveyards, and then we even got the black on black to draw. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Chat know everything. Like chat are the biggest brain Magic players there are. There is just no one bigger than them. And we're gonna see. We're just gonna draw.
Respect to chat and respect to the production team. Immediately.
That production team is a one-man band called Anu who puts in so much work, ladies and gentlemen. So please hit that follow button if you haven't. It all helps in the long run to bring you this beautiful Magic that we're seeing as the Ragavan comes across, does connect, does make a token. That token gets sacked. We do get a Fable on the battlefield. Now, what we're going to do on Daniel's side, he knows those Brainstones are imminent. We're going to shock in this breeding pool.
Out of all the card treatments, I have to say that the black and white treatment, deserves hell. Whoever came up with that idea. Because borderless makes sense. Like the center is the same as it would be, but black and white one. Oh god! And the basics.
What do you think about the new oil basics that have just come out this last week?
I'm not sure I've seen them.
You haven't seen the oil basics? Oh, they're beautiful.
Obviously, if they are beautiful, then I may have. If they are beautiful, I may have.
I am a Phyrexian fanboy at the end of the day, so I do love these oil slick basics, which we did see the Infect player yesterday was playing with them, but we haven't seen them so far today. As we're going to come across, a couple of treasure tokens are probably going to get made. Yep, 2 treasure tokens, and the top card.
Oh, they are gorgeous! Oh my god. Okay,
and
they are gorgeous.
There's someone just finding out what you can only get them in one box that it was just released this weekend, I believe.
To be fair, they are perfect, but I think not as basics, but as like storm mana counters, Like for tracking mana, they look perfect. Basic lands, sure.
Daniel managed to grief out one of those stones from the hand and then had force for the other one. So both of them have been dealt with. And then if this last card is a Cascader, he did shock that in.
Oh, but it can't be.
Yeah, it's got to be red for it to be an instant speed. Maybe he's got like hard cast, endurance, or force, maybe? Didn't get a good look at his last card.
If Daniel wins from this position, again, we've had so many very difficult positions and so many comebacks from those that I guess nothing will surprise me today anymore. But he did shock it in, so it's probably just hard cast Fawn, which might be okay. So he's not pulling the trigger on it.
Well, I would have pulled the trigger there. I think I'm falling so far behind.
But he might identify that the only thing he's actually losing to are actual hate pieces like Relic.
Fetch. Pass and turn back. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage on the battlefield. 2 new looks. Bone Crusher, and there's 2 ways to finish it off. Go to combat. I imagine the words that are coming out of Dalton's mouth. Tap in that, target one of these. Get the extra treasure tokens while we can. He's going to go find a token that says copy on it, or he's just going to get an actual token, whatever his taste may be. Daniel, are you slow on us, Daniel? Do you have it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go. Go to combat.
He's a master of looking he doesn't have it. Because if he did, he would have cast it before the treasure triggers resolve. So he wouldn't have allowed Dalton to go to combat. So there is no cascade.
There's a force off the top there. No need to cast that. And I kind of like this, sitting on this Bone Crusher. In your upkeep, do this.
Nice.
He did have a force in hand, we see. So it was a force. He could have forced that, but then he's still dead to the creature on the board and around that ruins. And Dalton manages to take down game 2, getting us to a game 3. Dalton, I must say, every round has taken us to game 3 and given us super enjoyable games to watch. I don't think anyone going into this weekend would have called Obosh Red playing to be 11-0-1, still undefeated as we go into this game 3. So we'll start over on Daniel's side, on the living end side. Let's look at his sideboard. What didn't he bring in? There's endurances in there, ley lines.
So there is a very interesting dynamic, because I said that some people play 4 living ends. I think Daniel might be one of those people who play 4 but in the 75. So the 4th one is in the sideboard and he doesn't sign them in. What he could consider doing, find a ley line of Sanctity to basically make Stone Brain unusable. This could be a stretch, but he could sign in like literally 1 copy and high roll it in the opener.
He's on the play, remember, on this one. So, is Stone Brain going to be, is he going to be too scared of that? Or is it more relics that we're going to be scared of? Chalices as well. Geez, Dalton's got everything for this matchup.
We are scared of like half of that deck. So we can't really... Yeah, we're scared of so many cards at this point.
Interesting. Dalton looks like he's bringing in the Blood Moons. Now he's on the draw.
Yeah, that is weird. That is weird. I mean, I would keep them both on the play on a draw, because if you're afraid of Force of Vigor, like, it's not like you don't have the targets for it, right? So
interesting. Let's see where we go here. Obviously, a turn 1 Vagabond could enable something like a turn 2 Blood Moon. Maybe that's why he's trying to hedge his bets on, like, trying to high roll that sort of percentage of how it goes. But it'll be interesting. We'll see how we're going to get on. It looks like our backup feature match is still playing out, which is good for us, because if this ends up being a quick game, we can cut across to them and give you your breach time. I know you're itching to commentate on some breach.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I'm also very, high on the tables. I think it's table 2. So great that the deck is doing so well.
And I guess that gives them, everybody in this top 4 that you're seeing here, a good shot to make top 12. Not something you usually hear in Magic, that they, I made top 12, but in this tournament, there is a top 12. And the way that works, because I can hear you all asking at home, is 1, 2, 3, and 4. The top 4 seeds, they get a bye in that top 12, leading 5 down to 12 to then battle it out, play a game of Magic, and all the winners from those 4 matchups will then get paired against seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we'll have the traditional top 8 that we are more inclined to seeing in Magic the Gathering as we look at these opening hands. I think we've got a bit of hate there on Den's side on a few burn spells. And then over on Daniel's side, we've also, I think he's kept a 7.
Yeah.
So both players keeping their 7 here. No griefs, or maybe we're going to start rolling now. And this is where we're going to try and find either force or griefs to get that turn 1 to try and hit a relic.
So what Daniel has is... this elemental that evokes and kills an artifact. I'm just blanking on the name right now. And what Dalton has...
Foundry Breaker.
Foundry Breaker, thank you very much. Yeah, and Dalton has Lantern of the Lost. That's the name, apparently. So this will actually go on the curve pretty nice, because Dalton will deploy Potato and Lantern, and then Daniel will kill it immediately.
Also fetching up a basic there, respecting the threat of a Blood Moon coming down. I think Fables draw for a turn, as we do see the light coming down. Was it Ray of Light, Staff of Light, or something like that? Was it called? Chat would let me know. They always let me know. But that is going to get rid of the big 5/5 hex pooper we had in our graveyard. Back to Daniel. Quick fetch. I love that when people just hit the fetch straight to the graveyard. They don't bother doing that. Oh, play it, tap it, sack it type thing. There's not, it's going straight there. I'm fetching. I'm finding what I need.
I think people who tap the fetchlands are like going extinct at this point. Or they have just got into Modern, maybe. But I've seen tapping fetchlands maybe like twice or thrice in my life.
And then we're going to see one of the another beautiful basic, a forest come into play there. That's one of the space ones. As Foundry Break is going to come down, destroy this, and itself is going to go to the graveyard, and we're going to pass the turn back.
If that hate piece was something different, for example, I know Tormod's Crypt, there's an interesting dynamic with stacking the abilities, because when you play Foundation Breaker, it wants to kill an artifact or enchantment, and it wants to die due to evoke. And the way you stack it is that you kill that artifact, that hate piece first, and then you land in the graveyard. Because if you do it the other way around, it can get exiled with the hate piece.
I think Daniel's got the ability to go off this turn if he wants to, but he doesn't have that much power in the graveyard to go off. He's going to cycle through these Street Wraiths here, get a couple more power. So currently we're at 8 power in the graveyard. But he might wait a turn or two to pull this trigger, but then that might be too late for him.
I'm not sure how I would feel as Dalton losing to Living End with so many cards in my deck against it. Like, I would feel, let's say, dissatisfied.
Hey, that's Magic the Gathering. That can happen, you know. And here we see the Living End's going to get cast. We're going to get back 8 points of damage here. Or 8 power, so I say 8 power is going to come back into play, giving us 10 power total on turn 3. Now, is Dalton going to be able to clear this up with something like a Fury, end of turn lightning bolts, etc.? We'll see. This isn't an unwinnable situation to come back from.
That's true. Technically, also Foundation Breaker has to target Shardless Agent, but it doesn't have to resolve because it's a May ability. So Foundation Breaker enters, says, well, I could destroy that Shardless because it's an artifact. And then Daniel says no to the May ability.
Okay, Blast Zone for the turn. And just hardcast. We've seen so many hardcast giants in our time commentating today. It's been unreal. Dalton has really been using that card, both sides of it, to its full advantage, because it is just a good blocker here. Blocks, trades, sure. Put another creature in the graveyard, as well as I now have a creature in the graveyard to come back. 2 mana. We're going to cycle this. See if we can hit some sort of either grief effect or maybe a force negation to go in our hand.
Yeah.
Once the graveyard.
Waker is actually an excellent card in this deck because if you face hate, Waker is like a 1 card fewer Living End because you get that 7/7, which is already very beefy, and probably something else that you're ditching along the way. So
that's not what we want to see off the top. Ragavan is not going to do too much right now on this board, especially while there's a blocker on the other side. Have we got? Can we kill that blocker and get across? Don't think we can. I think we're going to see a Fable come down here. It does deploy. We're going to get ourselves a 2/2 Goblin Shaman. Put that Fable onto chapter 1. We are going to deploy Ragavan, maybe on blocking duties, or at least make Daniel leave a blocker back because he doesn't want to get hit by that Ragavan. Still kind of even at the minute. Still, we've got a way of actually hard casting grief. Some decks like to play the Sunken Hollows. Other decks, not too much. You know, everyone's a bit of flavor. It also gives them the ability to actually hard cast Living End on suspend if they want to later on in the game. Can't see I've seen one of them in a long time hardcast, but here we are.
So you've got a very kind of modest attack for 5.
Yeah, especially if Dalton's at 17. You know, you can just take this. Like, maybe that's not what's going to happen. We're going to double block here. Taking 2 any.
Now, to be fair, like even if they trade, but there is another Living End, Daniel's board will be much, much more formidable. So
we got a question here, which I imagine they're about to ask the judge, and it's going to be: can I assign all my combat damage to 1 creature?
Oh, that's a spicy question. That's a very spicy question. Especially as Daniel is asking it post blocks, while actually Dalton should have asked it before blocks, right? Yeah. So he knows what he actually ought to do. But this is a very big brain question.
Because realistically, obviously Daniel's doing this because he doesn't want to fill up Dalton's graveyard with creatures. And it looks like the answer is he can.
So it shows you why Daniel is 10-1. Well, that was heads up.
Yes, very, very good play for him there, as we're now going to see.
Oof. Well, let me cash in my my bold prediction of this game is approaching an end.
Yeah, this is going to be very hard to come back,
may I say.
So we're going to get back all these creatures, and you can get back your giant. Any
I mean,
triggers happen? Yeah, one trigger is going to happen here.
well, if that's not a GG, I'm not sure what is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any sort of way to come back from this. That is a lot of power on the back for that is 10, 14. That's 21, 22 power on the other side of the battlefield versus just a lonely giant, a Fable going to 2. I think Fury might have to have something to do with this. Maybe multiple Furies are going to have to do. Blast Zone and Lands are not going to do it. And unfortunately, Dalton is going to pick up his first loss of the tournament, advancing to 10-1-1. And Daniel going to 11-1. And potentially, I believe, maybe becoming our king of the hill. So